Oh, is
I,
this a
it,
different bell?
this is a different bell.
Ooh,
Yes, look at that.
building
Look,
up a
this is
bell
look how
collection.
fancy it is. This is someone sent this to us. And then also Elaine's bell
Yes.
is now
Wow.
sitting at our house somewhere else. So
Oh,
thank
sorry.
you. Or we can
Oh, wow.
officially start.
Jeez
We can.
Louise. Sorry about that.
All right,
Ah!
guys. Hey guys, welcome to Anchor Watch, our weekly Below Deck chat, where Josh and I take over Up and Adam's channel to talk about, which I like to remind everyone, still the #1 show on Bravo, even as Below Deck Down Under. And Josh, fun episodes, but also we have a lot to talk about tonight.
We have so much to talk about. Are we going to drop some exclusive news here on our show?
And it's not the first time, but absolutely we are. Absolutely.
Wow.
I want to just go ahead and before we say anything ever here, we like to make sure that it's true or we can validate it somewhere, or else we just don't bring it up. We let someone else do it when they can, right? So we knew that Toomey, after seeing photos from People magazine last year, that Toomey was filming Below Deck Med. Actually, around this time last year, we got those photos. That Toomey from Below Deck Down Under season 1 was now the chief stew on Below Deck Med. She was filming in Italy, and we got those photos last year. Crazy. It's crazy that they were filming that last year, and we're just getting that, which means season 9 of Below Deck Med, which is after the one we're about to get.
Yeah, we haven't even seen season 8 yet, right?
No, not at all.
But Jason, I haven't seen any pictures in People's magazine, so surely you don't have anything.
No, I don't have anything from People magazine, but I want to give a big shout out to Mortgages by Stella, who sent us some exclusive tea and photos from Greece. Greece, which is where Below Deck Med season 9 is currently filming. So this is a little front look at some of our crew.
Wow.
Of course, Captain Sandy.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the photo too to the side, you could actually see an earpiece in the person in black. So it's obviously a camera. Oh, there you go. Okay, camera person. So
yes,
they are definitely filming.
They are filming. They are on the same yacht as we've been previewing for Below Deck season 8.
Any familiar faces? Any familiar faces other than Captain Sandy there?
Well, like we either have a familiar face of a chef, or sometimes we have a familiar face of a chief stew. We have a lot of, and before I bring this up, we have a lot of crossovers happening. Like right now on Below Deck Down Under, we have Luca, who is also on the cast of Below Deck Med season 8 coming out. And another fun crossover.
And I'll just say this, Jason, and we're not hating it. We're actually enjoying it. And I think this kind of goes back to the sentiment you and I were talking about in the thing we like from sailing is reoccurring cast members, so we can kind of get to know them more, and there's more depth to the story when we have a history with them. And so I kind of like this idea of having history with crew members. And okay, so we don't see them in the same Below Deck. Maybe we're
like
seeing
different environments. Yeah,
yes.
We get to see those same characters.
We still know them.
Right. It's like, watching Bernadette Peters do a different musical. Like we still know Bernadette. It's kind of
exactly cool. What I was thinking. Like Bernadette
I
Peters.
Knew you were. I knew you were a big musical fellow fan like me.
Oh my god.
No, but what's interesting about Below Deck that, the Housewives doesn't have is the Housewives can't just be like, oh, I'm leaving Beverly Hills for New York. Put me on New York. It doesn't happen. But the skill set that you have in yachting can, be transitional to different yachts and different franchises. So we have our new chief stew for season 9. I'm so sorry to ruin it for everybody, but Aisha is joining Captain Sandy yet again from where she started on Below Deck Men as the chief stew for season 9.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yes, you heard it here first. And we know Sandy's very excited. She's even putting her shirt down very tight.
And we love Captain Sandy.
What
do you think of? Okay, so what do you think of this pairing, Jason? I mean, we're getting a lot of Aisha right now. So how do we feel about this pairing, her and Captain Sandy?
Well, 2 questions come to mind. The first question is what happened with Toomey on season 8 this season coming up that she's not coming back as the chief stew again, or is Toomey going back to Below Deck Down Under for season 3? Okay, that's one thing. The last time we saw Aisha and Sandy, it was a bit rocky, but because she was really good friends with Hannah, right? But I think she has respect for Sandy. I think Sandy has respect for her, and I think this will be a kind of an interesting dynamic for sure.
Well, and I think too, again, we talk about getting to see these these crew members and their growth. Aisha has only gotten stronger and stronger as a chief stew, to where I could see her, she's also matured too. Some of the things she said and the choices she's made are more of a leader. And so it's like she was friends with Hannah and there was that interpersonal thing, but I feel like she's at a point now in a maturity where she knows a job needs to be done regardless of her friend, this, that, like if she's taking a job, she's there to do the job. And yeah, I mean, who would not be excited to see her some more? She's good TV. She's fun. She's likable. She's good at her job. It's kind of all the things we need for a good crew member on Below Deck.
Absolutely. And, to that case too, watching her evolve as a chief stew from Below Deck season 1, where she was a little more hesitant to make decisions or more careful about people's emotions, I feel like she needs to make the decisions. She even will put Margot in her place when she needs to. Laura, thank God she's gone. But, she's really good at making those decisions and standing her ground now than she was before. So I'm really curious to see how she does on season 9. And I'm all open for people just bouncing around boats and we see familiar
It's kind of
cast.
fun to see what combinations we can build too, and look at, I'm just putting up some of the comments. This is a great point, Tess. We hope we see her somewhere else. But yeah, everyone seems to be really pro this. You know what I mean? Like I'm seeing a lot of comments. Everyone loves her. Loves her. So
the thing about Aisha too is we've heard before that certain cast members can bring on friends or help cast the show, as who know people who do the same thing, who might be interested on the show, where casting can kind of interview them and see if they're right. And we see a lot of this happening, with Aisha and some of her friends, Luca being one of them that she's known before, and a couple of other people. So I'm curious if that goes into play. Let's keep Aisha around because she's like the new Hannah or the new Colin. Not Colin from Below Deck Sailing, but from Below Deck Med, I believe he helped cast a lot of the shows. So, she might be responsible.
I think it's like any job, like my company at work. They're like, hey, if you guys know someone who would be good for the team, let us know, because we can look at it differently. We've been doing the job. We're in the shoes of the person, so I could see them easily turning to their more successful crew members and going, hey, what friends do you have that could do this? Now that you've done it, you know what it's like being in front of camera and doing the job and doing the show. And so who could you recommend? So it totally
makes sense, right? If you, like you just said, have done a job, what it takes, what kind of personality would be good in there, then, you would, 11 guys, make a wish.
There is no way I'm going to do this. Comment, Cindy. I'm not going to do Jason or Josh. Let's hear your best, Aisha. No way. I don't want to.
I don't know. I really like him. That's that's as good as I can do.
Is the most you're getting. I am not going to do it.
Josh, I saw that you voted in our poll that I have going in the live chat, and you were the only one who voted yes. I said if Culver give, that's definitely you, right? It says Josh, SeeJoshGo, that you voted, right?
I thought.
Anyway, the poll.
No, I didn't. You're lying.
I'm screwing with you. The poll says if Culver gave you the pick one card, as we saw, today, trying to make Jamie his girlfriend, what would your answer be? And I put 2 options. Yes, I'll be your girlfriend, which you chose, or nope, grow up.
First of all, I chose nope, grow up. So angry.
Well, so did 95% of the people who aren't you. They voted correctly.
Okay, folks, this whole show is a lie. Okay, Jason is deceiving you. I did not say that.
That's what, when we spoke about it before, you were like, I wish I could have.
So you know
You
what?
told me that you would have had more girlfriends in high school if you would have done that trick.
What?
Right?
Where is this coming from? What? Why are you doing this to me?
I don't know. I don't know.
Folks, mark this time because this is where the lawsuit started. This is
That's
where. No,
well,
Jason, isn't it interesting? I feel like you and I have, as far as like things to discuss from the last 4 episodes, because we were gone last week. I feel like there's not any particular huge moments. There's like 10,000 tiny moments to discuss. And I have to say
yeah.
that this is one of those casting gold moments where every crew member is interesting. Every crew member contributes to story. Because you know what? It's especially for a while there, it seemed like they would just not do well with casting. And there would be 1 or 2, sometimes 3 cast members who were so bit player background, you didn't really hear much about them because they were kind of boring and didn't contribute a lot, and so the editors didn't have a lot to work with. This crew, every single person feels vital to this season,
Yeah.
and everyone has their moments. Yeah,
It's almost like they struck gold, right? Like, I mean, listen, not everything we've dealt with this season has been pleasure, you know,
yeah, and
like
I'm not talking about the people they had to let go for obviously gross reasons. I'm talking about the current crew. Is kind of casting gold. I mean, you know, for those who are watching live, do you agree? Like, are we sitting on a really good cast right now? Like, as far as every character, I can't think of one character that fades to the back. Everyone has
I
their moments to shine.
everyone is standing center stage. And actually, I was a bit surprised that, you know, since you brought that up, that um Joao was such a. I thought this was going to be horrific. I thought this was going to go left, and I actually find myself really liking Joao, his leadership skills, which is it's just so different. I even like Joao and Tzarina, which we didn't think that would ever come, you know, to fruition. But
Yeah, I gotta admit, when I saw it was Joao, I was like, this guy's annoying. He's obnoxious. And while I think there's still some of that Joao bravado that is the root of what made him obnoxious, I think he's matured and he's more palatable.
palatable, okay.
Well, I guess, I mean, it's and then it's actually nice in that. Like, a part of me wants to say, like, I can actually put up with him, but that's even kind of mean. I'm enjoying him.
Yeah, same. I gotta agree. I wonder how the live chat feels about that, because I know, you know, a lot of people at the beginning were hesitant, like I was, but then a lot of people, like Cindy in the live chat, saying yes, a very different Joao. Um, and it was interesting too, because I guess we'll jump into the episode here. But we saw kind of this transition of Culver being this like kind of great guy, right?
Mhm.
And really into Chef and Tzarina, and really focusing on her and having FaceTime, you know, with his mom and the chef. And it looked like he was really interested in her. Kind of like Culver season 1 when he was interested in Brittini, or gave her kind of like, you know, kind of put out there that he might be interested. And then all of a sudden, this new shiny thing comes along, and now we're writing cards. Pick yes or no. Will you be my girlfriend? So, yeah, we've seen a lot of things happen.
You know what it is? I think he ain't a bright guy, and so we see
Man,
Mo.
will you be my girlfriend? It's weird, right? It's
He's got like 2
where are your
extra teeth.
lips?
No,
Yeah.
I think the problem is he's not the brightest guy, and so we see the moments where he's charming and he's sweet, but then all it takes is like a new distraction to shake her little butt into the screen, and all of a sudden he's like, and that's exactly what we saw. And yeah, so you know, now they were going at it in the shower the first night I think she arrived, right? Like, wasn't it
Yeah,
the
I
first night?
mean,
And
listen, maybe she might have led him on a little bit there, but let me give you 3 reasons why you shouldn't be with Culver. Okay. First of
okay.
all, always looking for the new thing. Second of all, doesn't want to spend time with you after you've signed yes on the card, which I felt she was almost forced into, because that was such an awkward moment. It was like Harry going on a date with Margot.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I was totally thinking the same thing too. I was like, has a very hairy vibe. It's kind of a
Also,
gross
lives
sentence.
at home, can't pay for the bill, the crew bill, which it's Culver's turn to pay for. These are all red flags. The only person who was excited about this was Aisha. She was like, "Oh my god!" I can't do the voice again. I just can't.
Yeah,
But she
what
was
was
very
with her?
excited for this.
Yeah, was it genuine? It seemed a little much.
Was it genuine or was it gin? We don't know.
Yeah, so that was a very cringy moment. Yeah, it did feel like he kind of backed her into the corner, and she's got a camera crew in her face too. Like, so what's it gonna be? And it's like, I guess.
Is
um,
this handwritten? Do you think Aisha helped do this? Because this doesn't look like it would be Culver's writing, or is this
no,
printed?
yeah, it's printed. That's a font, buddy. That's a
Oh.
font. Remember?
Every handwriting that comes from like a girl, especially like when I was in school, looked like a font. No?
Yeah. Well, I think they made a font off of a young girl's handwriting. But that's a font. Remember, Joao helped him. That's printed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
come on.
printed. Well, that's cute. Um, man, that was very interesting. I don't know if what a predicament to be in, because right after she goes back to the room and she's like just shooting back drinks with Margot. She's like, I need this drink, I need that drink. But sorry, Josh, if you had to rate this episode, what would you rate it?
Well, do we say episode these days, or do we say both episodes? The night
Ooh.
of Below Deck. I kind of feel like that's where we're at now. Now is we're being
Yeah.
presented a night of Below Deck as opposed to an episode. Because we're getting 2 episodes a night. I don't
So
know.
in comparison to the past, like, Below Deck feature film nights that we have on Mondays now.
I'm gonna say I'll say these are between a 7.5 and an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I mean, they're, and I'm saying it for this season. I'm not comparing them to other seasons of Below Deck because I'm saying this was kind of average, a little above average for this season, which is a compliment because definitely higher than other seasons. I should say their average is above average for a lot of other seasons we watched. I'm really enjoying this season of.
Same.
And the other one who I think we got to give credit to, I've noticed the seasons you and I seem to have enjoyed is with this new production company. What's the name? The 50,
51 Minds, and I know
51
that
Minds?
Nate. I always get it wrong. I don't want to say like something wrong, but Nadine Rajabi is the main producer on this, and she's actually fantastic. Some of the stuff she's produced, she does also Med as well, which is probably why you see some of the changeover.
And I just think that you and I have enjoyed this. It is interesting. You got to look for these things. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, so now these are how we have to start like looking for more depth in this. But it's like looking at the production companies who are assigned to work on these. Let's be honest. Stuff on television, movies, it lives and dies in the edit, and so part of it is the chemistry of the crew and stuff. But you could take a really good crew that has a ton of chemistry and edit it wrong and make them look like they don't get along or make it look so boring. So I'm giving some of the credit to this producer. They're doing a great job of giving us compelling TV. And going back to what I said, where we've been doing this for almost 2 years.
I think even longer, or has it been exactly? It's been a minute.
Oh, we might be at the 2-year mark.
I think we might
look up our anniversary.
I think it's close to Halloween, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. But it could get repetitive. I hate to say it. And
it's the same situation over and over again. We have the crew night out, the drunken stupors, but something like, you said, which made this season a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more layered, was we had situations which do occur in yachting, from, I hate to say it, but the sexual assault, this past episode 14, where we had the seizure kind of take over, and we watched the crew very quickly react.
Yeah.
Captain Jason very
Well,
quickly
and
react.
I better say something because I paused there in the middle of what I was saying. What I was saying was it can get repetitive, this show. I'll be honest.
Yes. Yeah,
When you
absolutely.
watch it almost, I mean, we've watched it almost weekly for 2 years, you know, and it's easy to get repetitive. So that's why it's so important to have good producers giving you good edits and good stories. And I will say that's why it's to me, I think it should be a huge compliment coming from people like Jason and I, not because we're at any our opinion means more than anyone. It's just we've chained ourselves to this show and watched so much of it that any person who's watched as much as us, I mean, a lot of you guys have stayed with us. So all of us who have been watching a long time, if we're all saying, wow, this is good, this is compelling, that to me should be one of the highest compliments that Bravo can get for this show. That's what I'm trying
Absolutely.
to say. So
no, and you hit the nail on the head.
What I was saying, but like you guys, a lot of you are also agreeing in the comments, like this is a great season, this is a good show. That to me, like that Bravo should be looking at that and going, whoa, these are the hardcores who've watched everything and they're liking it. Well, we're doing a good show, you know?
Do you think it's possible that we might get a repeat of their success in the next season of Below Deck Med?
I think this Below Deck Med is going to be good. I think we have some people coming back who were compelling TV before. I do
not
think
so much.
not so much, but and I do think Sandy is a captain who we've seen grow really well with Below Deck and what Below Deck is. She reminds me of, so we kind of had an old style of captain on Below Deck and kind of this new style. Old style was you saw them, they were the figurehead, but like they weren't really present most of the show and stuff like that. Then you see these new captains like a Captain Jason who always seems present, always with the crew in a good way. And I mean this again as a compliment. The same with I feel like Sandy's an interesting one because I think she was one of the first ones we saw be more hands-on, which actually rubbed a lot of old-time viewers and hardcore fans of the show the wrong way because they weren't used to seeing a captain be so hands-on. So she caught a lot of guff about being too micromanagey, too, her fingers too much in the pie. Now I think people realize like she has obviously won over a lot of people. We've seen it in the comments. She's won over a lot of people. And I think people are getting more used to the idea of the captain being more present. And another one we saw, Captain Glenn, he matured from season to season where he's more present, where before
Absolutely.
So am I making a good point, folks?
You're making a great point because we've talked to Captain Sean about this.
Yes.
You know, in the industry itself, like, yeah, you get used to one thing on TV, but when you see it change, people don't necessarily like it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, oh, she's like this. Oh, he's like that. He's too hands-on. But really, they're responsible for the entire boat, like everything that happens there. Of course, they're going to be hands-on. Yeah. So, yeah, very interesting. So we take a little bit of a turn. We now have Tzarina and João, who are a thing, which we didn't see coming. In fact, I had more hope for Harry and Marco. I'm the only one.
No, you weren't, Jason. All of you, and I'll never let this audience forget, all of you guys were against me on that one. And
I was trying to take it. I was just trying to take it for everyone. But now we see Tzarina and João, and I guess I'm thinking of this old João, but I want to bring up a comment really quick because I want to show you guys. We talk about this all the time. So speak of repetitiveness. We had a comment earlier from Horvath 34. Hello, Culver and Jamie have known each other for less than 2 weeks. Yes, this entire season films within 6 weeks. So the fact that like we're already playing the girlfriend like yes or no card, we've already been through all of these other situations. Now Tzarina's all of the sudden, it was like yesterday.
Yeah,
really.
And you and I, like, once a season, I feel like you and I have to remind folks, we're not spending 2-3 months with this crew. We're spending that time with them. That's when it's being given to us. They're spending 6 weeks together. And so, yeah, to go from, 0 to 60 in a relationship. It's like, yeah, it's kind of easy when you're literally locked in together and you're spending 24/7 and stuff, but it's like a lot of times, most of the time, as soon as they hit the shore, those relationships dissolve, and we see that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just like being in the circus, right? When you and I toured in the circus, we're in a bubble. We see relationships form, but they've never lived outside of the circus tent, with real jobs and, a real situation. So that's interesting.
Real quick, over 200 people watching live right now. Thank you guys so much. If you want to give us a tip, just like they do on the show, the one thing we ask is hit that like button. It's so silly, but that like button means a lot in YouTube world. So if you're watching live right now, or even replay crew, if you could hit the like button, we would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it.
100%. We really do. And we really do have a great replay crew. So leave your comments below on anything we're talking about. We always come back and try to answer them. Captain Sean will come back and answer questions as well. Okay, let's just get through this episode because I feel like there's not too much to really hone in on besides like lactose intolerancy. Interesting. So we have these new guests that arrive, which are very different from the guests that we just saw leaving. We have the younger version of housewives, I guess I could say. I don't know. There was lots of bickering and fighting, and I think Tzarina had a really good point of, this is why I don't go on girls' trips. It's always bickering, jealousy, fighting, jealousy something. And yeah, that's what we got.
As someone married to a woman, I will say nothing. Jason, have at it, buddy.
I'll have at it. Listen. They went so hard. Wait, I have even a photo. Here we go. This is kind of like the entire charter right here. Oh, I'm so drunk. Going down the stairs, right? You missed a beach day. Because you guys were too busy arguing over the lactose intolerancy of this poor girl who was just like, listen, I have diarrhea. I shit myself to sleep if I have lactose. I'm just saying I don't want dairy. Okay. And then you have this other girl who's in here like, we had to pull straws and hoot a room with you. Might have been from being lactose intolerant. I don't know. Like,
no,
maybe they don't want to sit through the shits. I'm not sure. Crazy group.
So that's the summary of this episode.
That was what this is the one time where I felt like the crew got to kind of like take a back seat for a second and just sit back and let the guests do what the guests do. And it wasn't violent. It wasn't crazy. It was actually just kind of entertaining. Like, this is what one of my favorite bits too was when the friend, I think I have a photo of that. Well, I mean, this conversation in general was just really awful to watch. But then you have the friend stand up. She's like, I am the primary. And it's like, yes, girl.
Yeah. A lot of friends who feel very comfortable with each other, and a lot of alcohol makes for moments they are probably cringing about watching now that the crew, now that it's over.
Do you know what I'm cringing for though? For the crew though, is what the tip might be.
A little tip.
It might be a little tip. Maybe sometimes big emotions lead to little tips. I don't know. Just from experience. But really, like, I'm trying to think of like another big moment. Of course, this is something I want to ask Captain Sean about too. Last episode, we saw Margot get a text from Luke, who, got fired for jumping in her bed naked when she didn't want anything from him. I guess text her and said, hear me out. And that kind of led her into disarray a little bit, where she decided, I'm going to take some shots. How do you think this was dealt with by Captain Jason? I just wanted to ask you before we ask Sean this question. Like, is that a fireable moment, or is this something like, you've been through a lot?
Our laws aren't exactly black and white, right? We have judges who judge and take things into consideration. And I think in this case, he adjudicated fairly. I was satisfied with the outcome. Also, we were privy to something that wasn't shared with the captain and wasn't shared with the crew. That Luke guy had the nerve to text her. One, I think highly inappropriate. He shouldn't have texted her anything. But also, what really irks me is it was something that he wanted for him. He wanted some kind of closure. He wanted her to hear some stuff. And it's like, buddy, you gave up 100% any right to anything you need. You know what I mean? Like, it is not about you. Who gives a shit what you care about, think, want? Yeah, you gave up that right. And so, look, is it good to self-medicate with alcohol? No, of course not. But can you forgive someone who did it because of that? Yeah, especially when they're a hard worker. They don't make mistakes normally. This was a one-time thing. And I think her character is such that we all know she's not going to do it again. When she says, I felt horrible and I would never do it again, I think everyone, Captain Jason especially, knew.
You believe her.
I believe her. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's constantly now trying to impress Aisha to try to get on that service, to be on at night, which I think after this, she won't see that again. But I think that's an okay, little punishment for doing that. But those were kind of the things that really stood out to me in the past 2 episodes. And next week, we're getting our finale. We're getting some... Isn't that crazy? That's how fast it goes. We were just talking about sailing like a month ago,
When you do 2 episodes a week, I guess it flies super fast. This comment came up here. Susan, I'd like to hear about Jason's time in the circus. Jason and I both met when we wrote and toured with and performed with Cirque du Soleil. So I know a lot of our longtime listeners know that, but we have a lot of new listeners right now. For those of you guys who are just joining us, that's a little bit of our background. And maybe one of these weeks when we have a between seasons time off or something, maybe we'll do a little episode where we'll talk about that again. We did that, but like 2 years ago. So maybe
2 years, like right when we started doing this.
Yeah. So maybe we need to revisit and kind of share some of that and tell some stories for our
lots of similarities. I mean, for us, when we watch this show, between like yachting and being in the circus, living in close quarters with people from like all over the world with different talents and different assets. It's
you can be fighting with each other. You can be fighting with each other, but when there's an audience there, the show must go on and stuff like. So that's part of why Jason and I started watching. Jason convinced me to watch with that in mind. He's like, "Hey, Josh, you should check out this show. In a lot of ways, it's similar to our time on Cirque." And we started watching. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of similarities. Every person there has a role. Every person there when we were on the show had an act, had a specialty that they shared with the audience and stuff. And your main goal was to give that audience an unforgettable experience. Same with yachting. And that is something we talked a lot with Captain Sean. I think that's why we're close with Captain Sean, is because we share that same sentiment. So maybe, is this a good transition?
This is a good transition. Yeah, absolutely. Let's bring up Captain Sean. Let's ask him some questions. If you guys have any questions, put a Q in the live chat and we'll ask Captain Sean.
Welcome, evening.
Captain Sean.
Well, good to see you guys.
Good to see. Every week, I just want to remind everyone, because sometimes I think I take it for granted, but we get the chance to pick your brain every week. I mean, Captain Sean, you were the best thing to come out of Below Deck Season 9. So
thank you.
We're very thankful to have you.
And you remember our first time meeting Captain Sean was it the day before? It was like my birthday or right before. And I had said for weeks, Jason, that you had to arrange Captain Sean on the show. We had no connection to Captain Sean. I just liked him off the show. And I kept saying, he's got to come on. My birthday's coming. We don't have an episode that week. This would be a great. And lo and behold, we ended up with
hashtag Team Sean was formed by our naughty yachties in the live chat. We've gotten a little less risque. I do have to say, as we've gone on, but
we'll bring it back.
Every time we have Sean on,
we've matured. Yes, that's right, Tess. You were there from the beginning.
She's the president of the fan club, by the way.
She was. Tess.
I'm
Tess
her right hand person on that one.
Tess was patient zero. The
Yeah.
Patient zero.
She's like that little monkey in Outbreak. She's the one
Lord
who
have
first
mercy.
carried the disease.
Yeah, Captain Sean, I think we have a good question to start us off tonight from Tess, because this is, your
Oh yeah,
your
there's been
saying.
a lot of people. Though 2-3 people have been fired this season, Captain Sean. How many have you had to fire in a single season?
11.
11 in the
Wait,
one
a whole
charter
crew?
season?
Is that a whole crew?
Yep. That's a whole crew.
Jeez.
That's a whole crew.
So
yeah.
wait just a second. So it's normal when you see like Jason or Sandy, because Sandy's like the one who seems to be, she chops whenever the hell she wants. She's like, bye, 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 bye. Like that can be normal in the industry.
Oh yeah, it's like, I got some guff for saying that, I'm not very good at cracking the whip, but I'm excellent at swinging an axe. You don't have time.
Yeah.
To like, you're under the gun. You've got such a short season. You just got to change up. And sometimes you got to work with you get the best of the worst, and you got to deal with you get to play the hand you're dealt with. I've been fortunate. I've had some outstanding. Oh, thank you very much, Marianne. I've had some outstanding crews, yeah, I know I've been lucky, but that was 11. That was 11. I had to fire an entire crew on board my very first yacht, called Taipan 3. And I went on board, fired everyone with the exception of the bosun and the chief stew. And then within a day and a half, hired an entire crew, took off from Cannes, went to Corsica, and did a 1-month charter there.
Wow.
Well, I mean, and is it hard to get in the jive of things again with the new crew, or like how does that work?
Well, you just gotta play the hand that you're dealt. And as long as you need 1 or 2 kind of allies on board, and I didn't have anyone on that first boat, but the bosun Bobby, who's still a very close friend of mine and was probably one of the most outstanding crew that I've ever had. I put a lot of faith in Bobby. I made him first officer on board the boat. I'm like, you're the first mate. And he's like, I don't know how to navigate. I go, well, I'll handle that part, but you go run the deck and do that stuff. And Bobby was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of hurdles to cross. We had to work with a lot. Had to do a lot of changes. It was it was something.
Well, Captain Sean, we had, so speaking of letting people go, we actually asked you to take a look at one of the moments on recently where can't even think of his name. Adam?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, Adam.
The kid that dropped the anchor.
He dropped the anchor while the boat was sailing along. What was happening there for us lay people, and what could have happened? And finally, when you're done with all of that, was that a fireable offense in your eyes? So let's.
Yeah, and actually, I admit I don't watch the episodes. However, I did watch that particular episode.
Yeah, we wanted you to take a look at that because we weren't sure if this is really like, how serious is this that we're at sea?
Oh, it's super serious. That's a bad. Yeah, like you dropped the anchor in the wrong spot, and that's just bad. Like, and Jason summed it up. He was like, it's okay. He had plenty of water underneath him, and they managed to get the brake on. But if he was going down a channel and that kid dropped the anchor, the other thing is, Jason he didn't say anything. It wasn't like, let's get ready to drop. I mean, there was no procedure, and he obviously didn't know how to use that the anchor windlass. That's an old school. Like, the boat is old school. I actually can see Jason's frustration just in some of the equipment and the stuff in there. He's kind of going like, it's just
this was not designed to be a luxury yacht. This was designed as like an exploration vessel, right? Like a science vessel. I think it was.
It doesn't even matter. I mean, just like a lot of the modern yachts that I drive, it's like I'm fortunate. You just you get used to some amenities and such, but that isn't. But I went to a naval honor school and was on a boat called the Tabor Boy, which was a 120-foot staysail schooner built in 1914. And essentially, this boat has the same anchor rig as the Tabor Boy did. I'm not kidding you. So, like, what the kid did was he took the brake off without looking. There's like a giant drum that has teeth, and all you got to do is just to make sure that that's engaged before you take the brake off. Well, what he did is he just took the brake off. And then what he did in the after interview, he's like, well, I kind of come from the commercial world and, we just dropped the anchor. That's irrelevant. He didn't drop it without any type of command. So when Jason was talking about like the mate was like, well, can you get rid of the other guy who's kind of a weasel? And he didn't, that kid didn't clean the tender and stuff. And there was a whole list of stuff that he wasn't doing. But he did know how to op. He was probably safer than the other guy. And I think Jason made 100% the right call. You got to get rid of the guy that's going to get somebody killed. And
so what could have happened, Sean? That's the one thing I don't understand. So it's going along.
That's
the
a great
anchor
question.
drops at fast speed and the boat's going at a fast speed. What could it have? What, it could have hooked something and spun the boat around, or what's going on?
Like all sorts of mayhem could have happened. Everything could have like basically the chain. The chain could have jumped off the it's called the gypsy head. The chain could have flown off the gypsy head, seized up. Then the windlass would be completely fucked at that point. There's like so much stuff that can go wrong with it. And how
is this like a season ending kind of thing?
Yeah, you could, but those windlasses are pretty, could have been if they didn't have an anchor windlass, if that thing was totally broken. And the way that I'm looking at that, so looks like it's got two anchors, and like basically they can engage one anchor or they can engage the other anchor. So it does look like it's got two anchors, one on one side, one on the other. But that's like an old school windlass. It just kind of goes back from one side to the other. So yeah, that could have been a game ender if they didn't have any way to anchor.
Interesting. God, it's crazy because we watch it and we watch, how serious it is on TV, but sometimes we got to ask Captain Sean. So
like anchoring, I'd call it the dark art. And it really, sometimes I've gone into anchorages I've gone on and just tried to, can I steal my helm pillow? Anyway, there's a bunch of
get in and wrestle pillows away from Sean. That's the rule in his house.
Captain Sean, we have a few other questions that I want to get into
let's go. All right.
Because we've seen a lot of things happen. RLF Productions has asked, because Adam just did a video, I think a couple weeks ago, where he said the crew doesn't sleep on the boat. And he said this was confirmed on Anchor Watch. I do want to say that they do sleep on the boat, but sometimes when they're doing confessional days before their days off or whatever, we have been told that they sleep in hotel rooms and that's where they do their confessionals. But can you also enlighten us a little bit about that?
And just another thing I want to add that, it's because the answer is yes and no, because while they're on charter, yes, we've heard that there are sometimes some dark days between charters. People aren't necessarily ready to go the next day. And so those are days we've heard that they'll put them in a hotel between charters sometimes.
Yeah.
Sean, what was your experience with this?
Yeah. So they basically, they had a bunch of, we had the whole Hyatt on St. Kitts taken over. We had all COVID and a bunch of crazy rules and stuff, but yeah, they usually had a block of hotel rooms that if there were dark days, just to get someone, you could get off the boat and you could chill out or do whatever you want. There's like a lot of accusations of the production, like driving the crew, to drink or making them do. And Yeah, I mean it's part of the show, but they do put a pretty big safety net out that if you need a night off or something, you need to get away from them, they'll make arrangements for you to do that. They don't want anyone to burn themselves out to such a little crisp that they'll just be completely useless or sue them, which is probably
That's probably more with their
yeah.
Just hold on to the little sanity they have.
Yeah.
Tess has a question, which I think is kind of a good little intermission from the other question we're about to ask. But another question: what is the funniest yacht name you've ever heard?
I think one of the best was owned by a psychiatrist, and it was called Freudian Sloop.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
A lot of thought into that.
And then there was a guy that just got divorced. He named his boat 99 Problems, which I thought was for the song.
It's funny when you're at these boat shows and stuff that I've gotten lucky enough to be at with you. You see some funny names,
and then
like
and then the Sultan of Brunei just named his boat Tits. And it was I kid you not. It was like,
oh my God, that's insane amount of money kind of thinking.
Yep, he just named his boat Tits, and
Wow.
there you go.
Thought went into that too. I'm sure. All right. So Marianne asked, because we saw a medical emergency where one of the charter guests, what I thought originally, I thought he was choking, but I guess he was having a seizure, and it was something that happened before. We watched the crew react immediately, and it was kind of interesting. Because sometimes when emergencies have happened on previous franchises or not for franchise or previous versions of Below Deck, we haven't seen the crew act as quickly as they did here. And you've mentioned before how you need to get certifications, that you have to also keep them up for every now and then. But Marianne Stout asked, my question is, how much medical training do the crew and captain have? Do they have defibrillators on board?
Yeah, the answer to that question is we've got quite a bit of medical training. On Latitude, we went way above and beyond for the training. We had special classes that came in, just kind of given the remote areas that we worked in. There's also companies that supply the boats with complete medical kits. We have an entire pharmacy on board for we have an entire. That was one of the reasons I fired 11 crew members, because most of the pain meds were gone. Anyway, we have an entire pharmacy on board. We're qualified to use it. We have 24-hour satellite connections to doctors all over the world. I've been the ship's medical officer on board most of my boats. I'm technically a first responder, but I've had medical training above and beyond that. We have defibrillators on board, and then we constantly will train with the defibrillators. We'll train with backboards. We'll train for different scenarios, and that's one of the things that I noticed about Jason is that this crew seems that they've worked together. That I think he might be drilling a bit behind the scenes. I actually really like how he's running things. He seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. He seems like he's fun. But above all, he's putting the safety of the boat and the people on board that boat. And by people on board the boat, I mean the passengers and the crew. So I think he's done a really good job just from what I've seen.
Well, and he seems like a guy that's kind of has similar mindset to you. Like, no job is too big or small. Like, he rolls up his sleeves when it's needed. And I know that you've shared a lot with us stories of like, okay, I mean, you've literally been the chef when time's called for it. So
yeah, no, I've done like dog walker, whatever needs to get done, baggage handler, whatever needs to get done gets done. It's like the decision we were talking about, the girl that he gave a pass because he caught her drinking on board. That like, again, I didn't see that particular part of the episode. I've had crew that have had problems with alcohol that I've had to let go. If you've got a policy where the crew can drink on their off days on board the boat, then you've kind of opened the door for them having a couple of cocktails while while they're off working. And anyway, I run a dry boat, which is it's just easier doing that. So that means that there's no drinking on board, period.
So not even on those days off where they're like in the hot tub or just none at all.
Yeah, none at all. And it's just a lot easier. And what I find is that rather than the crew getting, after work, having a few beers and then watching movies and then kind of going into their cabin, they'll say, well, I'll go out for a run or I'll go to the gym, and you get a much healthier crew. I've run it both ways in the beginning, and this is exactly what happens if you get a crew, a situation on board the boat. Thank you, Marianne. If you've got a situation on board the boat where the lines are blurred, somebody's going to take advantage of that. Now, I understand. She just thought she needed a cocktail or whatever because of the whole incident with Luke, and it was traumatizing. But that, I mean, you could take that a next step further. It's like she could have stubbed her toe and had a bad day. And where do you draw the line? The other thing is, it's like he's under so much scrutiny right now because he's on television and everything's being filmed. She's not gonna get away with anything, so he's got to deal with it. I mean, frankly, there's been incidences where I haven't had any replacement for crew, and I know that a couple of the stews are having a glass of wine after their shift, and frankly, I've just done I see nothing.
I see nothing.
No, and they know, but they knew. Like my crew was pretty respectful of what was going on board the boat. But if the owner of the boat had a $10,000 bottle of Sassicaia and then offered the chief stew a glass, I'm not gonna say no. I mean, I'll let her have that. Let her have that $2,000 glass of wine, or maybe a champagne toast or whatever. But but for the most part, anything, as we can see, anything can happen at any time. And if they're impaired, then they put their fellow crew members and the passengers in jeopardy.
That's crazy.
Well, we've definitely had some interesting stuff to go over with you tonight. Thank you for giving us your insight. Because some of the stuff like the Adam thing, I was like, is that even fireable? And so it's good to hear, another captain going, this is
makes sense.
Here's why.
Makes sense. Captain Sean,
Thank you, Captain Sean.
Always a pleasure. I'm so glad we get to steal you, no matter where you are in the world, to jump on with us for Anchor Watch to give us some 2 cents and some insight into things we don't know anything about.
Well, we're gonna be one more week here on the Cape, and then after the 17th, I will be live from Monaco and the Monaco Boat Show.
Monaco, one of the biggest boat shows in the world.
The biggest, right?
I mean, this is that's
Lauderdale's the biggest. Monaco's the best.
Yeah. Okay.
Quality versus quantity.
Yeah. Oh, and then I did that chartering, and hey, thank you very much for a lot of you that were in the chat tonight. Like Cheese Pixie tuned in, and I really appreciate that. And a lot of people from Anchor Watch tuned into the live presentation I had on Svalbard. A bunch of people on board. There's a below deck group on Facebook that also picked that up and were saying they're like, why aren't I running, why aren't I on adventure? And that's an excellent question. But anyway,
stay tuned.
Stay
tuned. And guys,
anyway, if you guys are interested, go. Jason, you give the plug.
Oh, no. So I was just going to say, if you're interested in seeing any of Captain Sean's charter talks about I mean, everything's fun. You've done a live on Svalbard, Thailand, the Caribbean,
Not the Caribbean, the
New England?
Bahamas and New England and
There you
Oh,
go.
Bahamas and New England. That's it. You can catch those on the Worth Avenue's YouTube channel, which is linked below. So definitely check those out. There's a lot of cool insight, things you just don't even know. And then plus you can hear more of Captain Sean's stories and his adventures from all over the world on many different yachts, different sizes, and yeah, stuff like that.
Thank you, Captain Sean.
I'm not gonna. Anyway, I've had a lot of different adventures, a lot of different shapes and stuff.
A lot of different
Here we go,
sizes.
here we go,
A lot of,
here
lot
we
of
go.
big
Anyway.
sized yachts, proportionate sized yachts, easy to drive yachts. Yes, yes. Love hearing about
All
that.
right, gentlemen.
Captain Sean.
everybody in the chat, bonsoir.
Okay.
Have a good night. All right, Josh, we are ending tonight with 2:45 in the room, guys. We appreciate you so much. We know that
Thank
Anchor
you.
Watch has grown significantly. Thank you, Sandoval.
Yes.
Thank you guys for being here, and hit that like button if you haven't done so already. It helps us out tremendously. And Josh, the one thing you're looking forward to next week?
Ending it with a bang.
I mean, I'm sure that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up. I wanted to see how many likes we have. Our 155. Thank you guys so much. You guys are the best. We're up to 155 likes right now. We're at 240. If you guys, the other 100 of you, if you wanted to add on, we could get there.
We won't say no.
We won't say
We
no.
won't say
That's
no.
how you can tip us. If you're liking the show and you want to give us a tip, all you gotta do is hit the like button. But thank you guys so much. Yeah, I think the finale is gonna be. I don't even doubt that it's gonna be good. This season's been great. I can't believe we're already at the end. If someone told me, hey, there's another couple weeks of this crew, I wouldn't not like it. What am I trying to say? I'd love it. I'd have fun. I want more of this crew. This is one of those, Jason. I mean, without seeing the end, we haven't seen the end yet, but from so far, if they told you, hey, we're bringing back this exact same crew for more, would you watch this exact same crew?
Yes, absolutely. I do love the same crew. I think there are still dynamics that are still yet to be uncovered. Like, I want to see what happens with Jamie and Culver next week, especially with Luca in the mix, and even Margot asking Luca at dinner, like, what's your relationship status? Where does this leave us for 2 episodes? Because those 2 episodes can still, things can happen.
I mean,
Let's
as
just
we
say
see
that.
with these
Things
crew, a lifetime can happen in 3 days. So,
lifetime of emotions.
yeah. The relationships go from marriage to divorce. I think some of the crew have kids during the 3 days that they're together. So it's wild. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think everyone's looking forward to it. And then, geez, we got another season about to kick off with Med. So go.
I'm curious, before we leave, I was gonna say, I'm curious if Med is gonna, now that we're out of the summer, I wonder if they're gonna follow the same kind of 2-episode pattern every week, or if we're gonna go back to 1 episode a week to lead us up to BravoCon. I'm really curious on how that's going.
I'd like 1 episode a week, I'll be honest. I know some people like 2, but it's tough. And I really like when it's a good crew, I would love to have 1 episode. So our episode gives us a chance to really dive in on some stuff.
Right.
I do feel like we're kind of blowing through just because we have 2 episodes to cover each week, and it's kind of hard to like dive in, but
yeah,
we still have fun.
It's still fun. It's still fun. All right, guys, hit that like button, and we will see you all next week. Have a good night. Night, Josh.
Good night.